If I had asked most LSU fans to give me one name in January you thought had a real chance to go into the transfer portal, maybe in December, I think a lot of them would have probably said Kaleb Jackson. Jackson comes in as a 4-star recruit, really flashes a little bit as a freshman. You all know the highlight from Mississippi State where he trucks the guy, got loose on some kickoff returns as well. Was not a feature part of the offense by any stretch of the imagination 2 years ago in an offense that was high-flying with Jaden Daniels. But he's big, fast, strong, 4-star recruit, now coming into his sophomore year. That's a guy that should be a big piece to the offense. And Kaleb Jackson ran for 150 yards and no touchdowns last year. That is not a big piece of the offense at all. And you feel like with Harlan Berry, the number one running back in the country, coming in, and Caden Durham as a freshman beating him out, and it's like that's a guy who's going to head elsewhere to play his college football. And that didn't happen in the early transfer portal window. And now the transfer portal is open again, and it hasn't happened yet. And we got a chance to sit down and chat with Kaleb Jackson today, the assembled media. And Wilson Alexander from The Advocate straight up asked him, are you going to go in the transfer portal? And this is what it sounded like.
But just to make it clear, the portal's open, but you're not going in?
No, I'm not going in.
That's pretty direct. No, I'm not going in. So we dove a little deeper with Kaleb and talked to him about why and talked to him about what his goals are. And the why of it was a really powerful answer. Y'all know his backstory. He's from Baton Rouge, went to Liberty High, and I learned some more about his backstory, and I think you will hear, talking about why he didn't decide to just pick up and go somewhere else.
My parents weren't blessed. My mom has 4 kids, just her by herself. She's the hardest working woman I've ever met in my life. She didn't give up. She didn't resort to anything else to take her with a stress. She didn't do all that. She worked and worked to put me in this position where I can finally take care of her and my other siblings and my future family. So that's my role model. My mother, just to not giving up and stuff like that. Because my family is from here, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So having them in my circle at all times is always amazing. Having to be able to go home, talk to my mom, have to talk to my grandma, have to talk to my father, and all that type of stuff. It really sets my head straight, and makes me want to go harder just for them, just so I can do it in my home state. As a kid from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, went to school down the street. You know what I'm saying? That played an impact when we wanted to stay here and just keep going.
Look, I don't have a problem with players transferring. If you were an LSU fan that has a significant issue with the transfer portal, it's kind of hard to battle that when you got Burrow, Daniels, and Skeens and White, Angel Reese. Like, it's been pretty good to LSU. So to sit here and say, everybody that transfers, what a quitter, man. Well, you're calling Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels quitters. You think Paul Skeens just quit on the Air Force Academy? I don't think so. But in the same breath, I can very much admire a young person who takes that kind of a stand. Says, look, my mom has busted her tail my whole life to give me opportunity, and she never quit. So I'm not going to quit. And that's an admirable stance because it's really easy to pick up and do something else. Really easy. Sometimes it's the right thing to do. But when you stick it out, I'm going to give you a little bit of praise there. And I thought that was a phenomenal answer from a young man. And again, that soundbite where he says, I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I want to do it for my home city, my home state, like that still does matter. I think there are some cynical people that are fans in collegiate athletics that go, it's only money. All anybody cares about is money. I don't know what Kaleb Jackson's NIL deals are, but I can tell you that's a guy who just said, like, I want to do it for my home city. I want to do it for my home state. That is still important to a lot of players that play. Not all of them. I'm not that naive, but there is a percentage that absolutely cares about that kind of thing, and Kaleb Jackson is obviously that. So for now, the question is not like, are you going to leave? Because he's not. The question is, how do you get better? How do you become an impact back? Josh Williams carries are now available. Harlan Berry's coming on. JT Lindsey's coming on. But Kaleb Jackson's a little different back. And so we asked him, like, what are your goals? How do you crack into this lineup?
Just to be more of an overall back, better at pass protection first and foremost. Short down and distance, I wanted to be better in that, not getting denied at the goal line. What else? Be a third down back where I can get out the backfield, catch passes, all that type of stuff. And, of course, just run the ball, be explosive, break tackles, and everything, all of the above.
That's a cliche answer, but okay. He understands what he's trying to get better at. And I am not ready to just close the book on Kaleb Jackson. I've seen the flashes. You can have qualms with his vision at times, but if LSU can create an offensive line that creates some space and lets him get ahead of steam and lets him get to the second level, I still think he's a big problem for SEC defenses. He told us today that he played last year at 235 pounds. He's now cut that back to his freshman weight of 225. He's back down 10 pounds. I don't think he's lost any of the strength he had, and he said he felt like he could still get up to straight line speed and run as fast as he ever could at 235. He didn't feel like he could change directions as quickly at 235. So you drop the 10 pounds. He feels lighter on his feet. He feels more agile. He feels like he can be a more dynamic running back at that weight. Caden Durham's the starter. He deserves the football. He's got great speed. He's got great vision, great instincts, great ability to make people miss. South Carolina game was phenomenal this past year. Like he's the lead back. And Harlem Berry's got to touch the ball. But what I like about Harlem Berry and Kaleb Jackson in the same backfield, they're completely opposite. Harlem Berry's 185. He's 40 pounds lighter than Kaleb Jackson. So if you need somebody to get outside, be real fluid with the football, make a corner miss, catch it out of the backfield, all those kind of things, third downs, like Harlem Berry's well positioned to do that. You need a guy to run at a tired defense. You need a guy to hit the hole 1,000 miles an hour at 225 pounds. You need a guy that's the most physical presence you've got in that backfield. Kaleb Jackson brings all that. And I'm not ruling out another year where he runs for 150 yards. We just saw one. But I feel like there's a pretty good chance that Kaleb Jackson kind of emerges here as a more productive threat than that. I would suggest closer to 400 or 500 yards from 0 touchdowns to 4 or 5. I don't think he's going to be featured in the offense. I thought that at this time last year. I thought at this time last year, Kaleb Jackson's going to be one of the most dynamic runners in the Southeastern Conference. He's going to be a bell cow back for LSU. I absolutely felt that way. I don't really feel that way now. But I also don't feel the way of, this guy's a sophomore, ran for 150 yards and no touchdowns. Well, tell him, go to Southeastern. I don't feel like that at all. I feel like there's more to his story to be written at LSU. Got 2 years in, got a great relationship with Frank Wilson, great relationship with Josh Williams, great relationship with Caden Durham. He's got some mentors that are older than him, and I think he's doing it for the right reasons. And I think there's a chance that Kaleb Jackson really helps this LSU team moving forward. I thought our conversation with him today was excellent. I'll have a piece in the coming days on LouisianaSports.net that's got more quotes than that from Kaleb Jackson. But enlightening chat with the junior-to-be from Liberty High right here in Baton Rouge. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.